The Lighthouse Keeper's Last Log. This story comes to us in fragments, pages from a logbook sent anonymously in a watertight pouch. The author was Elias Vance, the sole keeper of the now decommissioned Griffin's Roost Light, 30 miles off the coast. His final entries tell a tale not of solitude, but of a terrible, patient companionship. Log entry, October 27th. Storm season's here. 3 days of gales. The supply boat won't come for another week. The isolation is pronounced, but that's not the worst of it. Something has been climbing the rocks. I hear it at night, above the wind. A scrabbling, claw-on-granite sound. Slow, methodical, from the seaward side. The side that's a sheer cliff face, 200 feet down to the raging surf. Nothing should be able to climb that. Not in this weather. Last night I saw it, or part of it. I was winding the clockwork for the lens, and a flash of lightning lit the whole tower. Outside the glass, pressed against it, was a hand, webbed, with long, black nails. Gray-green, slick skin. It slid down the pane and was gone. I told myself it was a trick. A seal, flung by a wave. A trick of the storm. I am lying to myself. Log entry, October 29th. The storm broke at dawn. The sea is calm, but the fog is thick as wool. The sounds have changed. No more scrabbling. Now it's a tapping. A single, repeated tap, 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 on the main door at the base of the tower. It comes every hour, on the hour, for exactly 1 minute. Then stops. I went down with the shotgun after the first one. Opened the door. Nothing there but fog. But on the stone step, a pile of wet, ragged seaweed. And in the center of it, a perfectly intact dogfish skull, picked clean. It was placed there. Not washed up. Placed. It's trying to communicate. Or it's trying to drive me mad. Log entry, October 31st. It has learned the layout. The tapping moved from the door to the side of my bedroom last night, right against the wall where my head lies. Tap, tap, tap. It knows where I sleep. The fog hasn't lifted. The boat is late. I see shapes in the mist now, moving through the rocks below. They walk upright, but their movements are all wrong. A jerky, hunched shamble. I counted 3. Sometimes they just stand in the water, up to their chests, staring at the tower. Their eyes catch the lighthouse beam and glow a pale, sickly yellow. I tried to call the mainland on the radio. All I got was static, and underneath it, a sound like bubbles rising through water, and that same, rhythmic tapping coming back through the speaker. Final log entry, November 1st. It's inside the service room below the light. I don't know how. The door is still locked from my side, but I can hear it moving down there. A wet, dragging sound. And it's humming. A tuneless, watery hum. I've barred myself in the lantern room. I have the shotgun, but I don't think it wants to break in anymore. I think it's just been waiting for me to realize I was never alone out here. That this light wasn't keeping ships safe from the rocks. It was keeping them in. And I've turned it off. The boat will find this recorder. Don't come for me. And for God's sake, keep the light burning. The supply boat found the lighthouse dark. Elias Vance was gone. The only signs of disturbance were deep, ragged scratches on the interior door to the service room from the inside. And on the floor of the lantern room, a single, webbed footprint, still damp with seawater. Griffin's Roost Light was automated shortly after. The old tower remains, a silent sentinel. But local fishermen still give it a wide berth, especially when the fog rolls in. They say sometimes, if your engine dies near its rocks, you can hear a faint, tapping sound from the shore. Some horrors are born from the land, or the sea. Others are born from the very fabric of a place, seeping into the foundations of a home, waiting for the right family to move in. Story arrives not from a wilderness, but from a quiet cul-de-sac in a Midwestern suburb. It was sent by a woman named Sarah, a mother of 2. She included photographs of her beautiful 2-story colonial. And in every window, if you look closely, you can see the same faint, pale smudge on the glass. Story 4. The Thing in the Upstairs Hall. Sarah and her family were thrilled to find the house. It was perfect. Spacious, good schools, a big backyard. The previous owners had moved out quickly, the realtor said, due to a sudden job transfer. The price was a steal. They moved in during the bright days of August. By September, her son Leo had a new imaginary friend. I'm Sarah. My husband David and I have a 5-year-old, Leo, and a 3-year-old, Chloe. We're that family. Soccer practice, PTA meetings, Saturday morning pancakes. Our biggest worry used to be the cost of college. The house on Sycamore Lane was a dream. It just felt like home. The first odd thing was Leo's friend. He called him Mr. Wicker. He said Mr. Wicker lived in the walls and liked it when the house was quiet. We thought it was cute. Kids have big imaginations. Then, the cold spots. Walking from the living room into the upstairs hallway, you'd hit this pocket of air that was just icy. In the middle of summer. And it always smelled faintly of ozone, like after a lightning strike, and something else. Sweet, like overripe fruit just starting to turn. David blamed the HVAC. The repairman found nothing. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a trick of the light. I was putting laundry away in the linen closet at the end of the upstairs hall. It was dusk. Out of the corner of my eye, in the dark of Leo's open bedroom doorway across the hall, I saw a tall, thin shape. It was the color of old newspaper, just standing there. I turned my head, and it was gone. I chalked it up to a shadow from the oak tree outside. But Leo stopped talking about Mr. Wicker. Instead, he started having night terrors. He'd scream about the tall man with no face standing in the corner of his room, smelling like bad candy. He refused to sleep with his door closed. We'd find him in the morning, curled up in our doorway, having crawled out of his room in his sleep. One night, I was up late working. The house was silent, and I heard it. A slow, dry, dragging sound. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-H click. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-H click. Like something stiff being pulled across the carpet, pausing, then moving again. It was coming from upstairs. My blood went cold. I grabbed a baseball bat from the garage and crept up. The hall was dark. The dragging sound was coming from inside Chloe's room, my little girl's room. I pushed the door open, bat raised. The room was empty. Chloe was sound asleep. But the sound, it was right next to her crib. And I could see, in the dim nightlight glow, a depression in the shag carpet. A long, thin line, as if something heavy had been resting there. It led from the crib to the closet door, which was now closed. It had been open when I'd put her to bed. That's when I knew it wasn't in our heads. It was in our house. We set up a baby monitor with video in Chloe's room. For 2 nights, nothing. On the 3rd night, David shook me awake at 3:07 a.m. He was pale, pointing at the monitor screen. On the grainy infrared feed, a shape was leaning over Chloe's crib. It was impossibly tall and thin, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. It had no discernible features, just a smooth, blank oval where a face should be. One long, spindly arm. It seemed to have too many joints, was extended, and a single, bony finger was slowly, gently, stroking Chloe's hair. She was sleeping peacefully. David roared and charged upstairs. I followed with the bat. We burst into her room. It was empty. The window was locked. But the room was freezing. And the smell of ozone and rotting fruit was so strong it made me gag. We moved the kids into our room that night. We called a priest. He blessed the house, seemed troubled, and left quietly. It did nothing. The thing just got bolder. We'd see it at the end of the hall in the daytime, just a gray blur retreating around a corner. We'd hear it crawling in the attic, a slow, scratching crawl, but it always returned to the children. We found strange, intricate patterns woven from Chloe's hair in her dollhouse. Leo's toy soldiers would be arranged in a circle, all facing the closet, their heads removed. The final straw was the photograph. I took a picture of the kids playing in the living room. When I looked at it later, there it was. In the dark reflection of the television screen, clear as day, standing behind the couch, between them, its featureless head tilted, one of those long hands resting on each of their shoulders. They were smiling, completely unaware. We left that afternoon. We took nothing but our clothes and the kids. We're living with my parents now. The bank can have the house. We're defaulting on the mortgage. The realtor called last week. A young couple is interested. They have a newborn. They love the big backyard. I tried to warn them. I told them everything. They laughed. They said every old house has its quirks. I'm sending you this, so there's a record. It's not a ghost. It's not a poltergeist. It's a predator. And it doesn't want the house. It wants a family to feed on. And it has infinite patience. It will wait for the next one. The house on Sycamore Lane sold last month. The new owners have installed a swing set in the big backyard. Our final story is the oldest we have ever received. It comes not in a letter, but in a parcel containing a cracked, leather-bound journal written in a cipher that took months to break. It details an expedition that ventured not into a remote wilderness, but into a forgotten chamber beneath a modern European city. An expedition that found that the most ancient hungers are often the best preserved. Story 5. The Exquisite Guests of the Viaduct Seal. The journal belonged to a Victorian engineer and amateur antiquarian named Alastair Finch. In 1897, his team was surveying the Roman aqueducts beneath the city, mapping forgotten conduits. They discovered a sealed chamber, not Roman in construction, but far older. The seal was not made of mortar, but of wax, clay, and hair. They broke it. Journal entry, October 31st, 1897. A magnificent discovery. Behind the seal, a perfectly preserved ovoid chamber, perhaps Etruscan. The air within is cool, still, and remarkably sweet-smelling. The walls are lined with niches, and in each niche, a figure. They are stunning, life-sized, rendered in a polished, dark material like basalt or obsidian. They represent men and women in postures of repose, their features exquisite, their clothing detailed with impossible skill. They are not interred. They are presented as if at a banquet waiting to begin. We have found a lost gallery of funerary art. We shall be famous. Journal entry, November 2nd. The smell has changed. The sweet odor has taken on a metallic undertone. Copper, perhaps, or iron. It is not unpleasant, but pervasive. Jenkins, one of the diggers, swears he saw the head of the figure in niche 7 turn to watch him as he passed. Nerves, of course. The darkness here presses on the mind. Journal entry, November 4th. I examined the figures closely today. The craftsmanship is not sculptural. There are no chisel marks, no seams. It is as if they were poured into these forms, or grew into them. The eyes are particularly lifelike. I feel a profound sense of being observed. We have suspended work for the day. The silence in the chamber is absolute. It feels respectful. Journal entry, November 5th. Jenkins is missing. We found his lamp at the chamber entrance. His hammer was inside, lying before niche 7. The figure's hand, its fingers are no longer folded in its lap. They are extended, as if they had dropped something. The metallic smell is now the smell of a butcher's slab in the summer heat. We are leaving. We must reseal the chamber. It is too late. The entrance is blocked. Fallen stones? We cannot move them. Our lamps are dying. The darkness is not empty. We can hear them moving. A sound like grinding pebbles, like settling ash. They are stepping from their niches. They are not stone. They are ash. Compacted, ancient ash, held in a terrible semblance of life. They are drinking the light from our lamps. I see them now in the guttering flame. Their exquisite faces are dissolving into hungry, open voids. They are not guests. They are the hosts. And we are the banquet that has finally arrived. The sweet smell was the preservative. The metallic smell is our fear. They feed on it. I can feel it being drawn from me, a cold suction in my chest. Jenkins must have tasted exquisite. I am hiding in an empty niche. I can see them moving through the chamber in the last of the light. Graceful, silent, reaching for my companions. I hear no screams, only sighs, and the soft, dry sound of consumption. I write this in the final darkness. Do not search for us. Do not ever break a seal that wishes to remain intact. Some sleeps are not meant to be disturbed. Some hungers are too old to. Alastair Finch and his entire team were declared lost in a tunnel collapse. The journal was found years later by a sewer worker, tucked into a crevice far from the supposed collapse site. The location of the chamber remains unknown. City planners for the metropolis above report occasional, inexplicable shifts in foundation readings in one old quarter, always between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m., as if something deep below is turning in its sleep.